let's say we are going to have a workflow for, in this case, I'm going to create a workflow for that. So I'll just call it, let's say, charge workflow. I'll just call it workflow, okay? Here, okay. And then from that point of view, I can say, there are these options, okay? If you, the originator, cannot be the final approver, then you can see that. So it's a control mechanism. So when you set up a workflow, you just say, okay, this is what I want. I want to make sure that this person cannot do certain things, okay? So once you save that, then you can just come, so I've got now my workflow. So what is my first my first thing to do? Okay, my first thing is I just want to add, let's say, step one. Okay, so for step one is I just want to say w dot charge inputter. Okay, and what do they do? Then you put in that, and then this is here you can say if you have got any restriction on what how many days they need to compute that task, so you can put 2. Okay, so this I'm just doing generic setup. Okay, so it can be any object, it can be a journal, it can be anything you want to put here. So here I'm just looking as a charge. Then you can see that here it's just a note. If you want, when they input something, if you want them to put a note, you can just put that. Then these steps are effectively saying, are you going to accept or to reject that later? But because it's the inputter, that's not a problem. So you can see now, this is where I was saying you need to set up the role here. Okay, so at the moment we don't have, let's say I'll just put in the role as your employee preparer. So it means that I'll give you, for example, Shankar that role. So what do they do when they have done this? They go to the next step, which we have not yet created. Then you can even restrict whatever. Let's say if you want them to do certain things for, let's say if it was a payment, you can restrict the range in which they can specify that amount of that. So if I save that, okay. Okay, so if I come here, so we now need to add another step. Okay. So this is why I say it will take, let's say this is approval now. Okay, I'll just say approve. Okay, what do? This is sort of like they might need some, let's say some 2 days or so, let's say 1 day to do that. And then what is their role? Their role is effectively employer. They're an employer, they are the reviewer. And then you can see now what's happening here is they can either be in a position to do things. So in this case, I'll just save this for now. Okay.
Can we leave the days to complete blank, or it's required to put the number of days and the days to complete?
You can see that there is a star there, a red, so it's mandatory. Yeah.
So I think right now we probably just get bypass that by putting a really large number.
Yeah. So if you can see now, is if I come to this person, I can say their role is the preparer, and then they can just move it to the next person. So now I've got those 2 rows set up. So it means that when we have got this workflow, okay, I'm just doing here quickly just for demonstration purposes. It means that we now have got our workflow. As you can see, this workflow does not have any person attached to it. It's just a generic workflow, okay? So it means that once I have this workflow now, like what Kara was saying now is, I'm just saying here, this is the workflow. Then you can edit it at any point in time, and then you can do all sorts of things. Now, what does this mean? Okay, it means that when you set this up now, hopefully the setup here is all good. I can come and say, okay, let me review a particular property. What property are we looking at? The one which you want to attach this particular charge. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I can pick up there. Okay. And this is where it becomes very, 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 very important then. So what happens then is, if I come here, you can see there's nothing there to say for this particular property, I want it to have a particular workflow. But now you can now add a contact, and I think it's UK, and you can now define the role. So at the moment we don't have those particular roles which I created. This is why I was saying now you need to create that particular role. Again, it's a step which it's a sort of like a configuration thing. So if this was set up, I'll be able then to pick up what we call an employer, that employer reviewer and employer preparer here, and then
so they exist, but they don't exist as options that you can select.
Yes. So that is the sort of like
more?
Yeah.
Do we have the option like to add it across all entities instead of like doing it one by one and adding it as a contact?
Yes.
Like instead
Yes.
of going to each entity property and add contact one by one, can we like do it like in one go, like apply it for all?
You can do that quickly. It's there's an ETL for that. So you just put everything in an ETL, you load the ETL, and then that's it.
So apart from ETL, there's no other way. Can I confirm that?
No. So it will just be an ETL. It will just be an ETL which you set up. So that is.
And is that contact, when you add a contact, is it purely a role like the employee preparer? It's not an individual, named individual at this stage, it's just a role that you're tagging to the entity?
Yes, so if you want that person now to have that particular role, this is where you come to add that contact. You choose a country, and then you can specify what they need to be doing here. And
right, okay, that is it is a real person. So you would add, for
example,
Ashley in there as the preparer.
Yeah. So if here in this case, I think I was looking at the wrong one. I can come here, and then I can pick up what's her name. Which name do you want me to pick up? Okay, I'll just say. Okay. Then I'll give you that particular row, but it's only property manager. This is why I'm saying my rows which I created needed to be added. So because you are an employer, I can add you, I then attach that. So once I do that, then the next thing is I go to the workflow itself, and then so in this particular case, I'll then go to the workflow itself here and auto attach, and then we are looking at charges, and then if I look there, the workflow is there, then I can list the properties to which I want to attach that workflow. Okay, so it means that now when you do the journal, or in this case the charge, you raise the charge, it will ask, let's say if it was Ashley as my inputter, they'll be able just to do the input. They cannot save it. They can then, based on the workflow, if you saw, I said the next step is the review or the approval. So they'll just indicate that it's going to the next stage, and then you get a notice to say you need to do something.
Does that come through? Would that be like on your dashboard if you were the reviewer and there was a workflow for you?
Yes. Again, this is why I'm saying the issue of workflows needed a separate session, because you set up correspondences to say, okay, you get a notice to say there is this thing to be done for you. So
like sorry, when you say correspondence there, do you saying we receive an email to our email boxes?
Yes,
or
it's an email.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
It's been really helpful to understand what this would look like and how it works.
Yes, so if you come here on the workflow, for example, okay, and look at this particular workflow, you will find that, yes, inputter and all that, and then you see that you have got different people to that. Then you can have an email template there. Select email template for the language. So we should have a template which has been set up here. Email preferred approvals only. So you have that set up. So effectively, it means that once the inputter raises the charge, let's say it's a journal, it will go straight to the approver, and they'll be able to get an email to say there's something for you to approve. So,
brilliant.
So in a nutshell, hopefully I tried to explain it I didn't want to go into too much details given the number of people on the call. I didn't want to confuse them, but I just want to give that high level. You need the setup. Once you have the setup, then you need to make sure that for a specified property you attach that, like what Kyra was saying, is because that is the control mechanism to say, for this particular property, I want a workflow to be attached.
No, that was really helpful. So IQEQ has a workflow orchestration platform, so actually we're all quite well aware of how orchestration needs configured in terms of the different steps and how we assign users to those. So it's very good to kind of compare this and understand how we can use it directly within a system. I think there could be a good use case for us using this in the future. But as you say, we can loop back around to that at a later date when we can focus in on it.
Okay, so do you still want me to make that preparation now for the journal for us to go at 11, or it's something
I don't think that's needed. Yeah, I don't think that's needed. I think
because I didn't want to rush creating it on the screen and people get confused. I want it just to be, for people to see it working rather than me going through it. But hopefully the highlight which I've given makes sense.
It does. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So from a workflow point of view, that is what's going to happen. And now, what happens is, if you have, once you have got that workflow, okay, once you have got that workflow, then you will be able then to come to this dashboard, and then it will show all the workflows which needs to be done. So, in essence, a person might not get an email, but all the things will be here to say, okay, who is the person who has prepared it, what is the current step. So everything will be here. So you'll be able to see everything you want to see here in terms of the workflows which you would have set up. And it will tell you the due date and everything, the last activity, and you have a milestone which is effectively showing you like a movement of the approval. So in the case of journals, it will just be 2, And then of course, at any point in time, you can just come here and say, I want to see, you can see now my workflow. You can see that. So I've set it up. Yeah.
Just a hypothetical question again, and it's fine if it doesn't, but I guess in some scenarios you could create a workflow with only one person and assign it to a specific task, such as running the SMI process or closing the period end for an entity. Is that feasible? Could we use it to do that in order to like have a dashboard where we track exactly the status of what individual has done what activities to take a fund through its quarterly or monthly process and through to being ready to start the next month of transacting?
Okay. The short answer is
Only need a short answer. Don't worry about showing us.
Okay.
I'm just curious.
The short answer is anything which you have as anything which you have here is a workflow. Period close, there it is.
Yeah.
You can, yeah. So it will be just one step.
Okay.
That's it. So you can do that. Yeah.
That's really
So in
interesting.
short, the short answer is any object which is here is a start. You should be able to create a workflow for that, and the workflow will take as many steps as you want. If you just want one, that's it. Yeah.
Brilliant. That's great to hear.
Yeah. So the other thing which I wanted to say is, once you create all those workflows, like what Kyra was saying, is a security control. It's attached to, of course, we have got the roles which people can fulfill or pass over. Remember the screen I showed for the user. So, but on the particular entities where that person would be able to perform things, they should be included as a contact, and they are given that specific role for which they want to be able to perform. If for any other reason you attach a workflow and they don't have that ability, then they will not be able to fulfill that workflow process.
Yeah.
So in a nutshell, that's it. So I'll just say let's get another 10-minute break this time, and then come back together at 11.
Great. Thanks.
If that's okay. All right. Thank you.